Rebbe Yitzchak Isaac Kamarna was known as Rebbe Azakel Kamarna, and he lived from 1806 to 1874. And he writes in Shvil Shishi Ois Yud of Nesiv Mitzvaysecha Nesiv Emuna. Listen to this. Yesh lenashek l'chol mi sheb'shem Yisrael yichuna. You should kiss every single Jew, any Jew that is called a Jew. Ula'er alav, a love, ahava uschus, and to awaken towards them love and merit. Who are these people that you need to awaken merit? People that are obviously not doing things that look meritorious. And he's telling you, kiss them and awaken in yourself love and schus. Bidan lekav schus. Ki kol ma she'oise. Because everything that they're doing, hakol hu, everything that they're doing, everything is machmas hiskabrus hara, because of the overpowering of evil. It's a Gemara. Ein adam chayte ela imkein nichnas by ruach shtus. There's a tremendous hiskabrus hara. There's an overwhelming strengthening of evil and bad in the world. That's why they're sinning. And what's the other option? Which we see here, and I always say, why do people sin? Because of pain. And he said this 200 years ago. Umachmas hatzaros v'hayusurim. Al manash nistalak das kol echad mehem. Tremendous evil and pain, affliction, tsaris, causes people's minds. Ela imkein nichnas by ruach shtus. They have a ruach shtus. Because it's insane to try to punch God in the face. It's insane to sin. Nishba ani b'chaye olam. I swear, how do you touch b'chaye olam? By Hashem, with Hashem's name. I swear. Shekulam anusim. That all these people that you see that are sinning are all anusim. They're forced to sin. Kitinik shenishba lebein anochrim uveli das yidaberu. Like a tinik shenishba, which means like a kid is captured by Goyim and he's raised Catholic. He doesn't know any better. Grows up in a Freya or Reform or Chiloni house, and they get sent to secular. They don't know any better. It's not their fault. So here we see a very interesting thing, an early, from hundreds of years ago, concept that pain is equal to the ruach shtus of the hiskabrus hara, that puts a person in a category called einus. I went to Gershon Edelstein Zatzal. You saw it on the video. I said, how do you look at all the people who sin? Anusim, the pater. He didn't want to see sinners. And then you hear people saying, Rishayim. The Chazal tell us those people have problems themselves. Tzaddikim only see good. He says, I swear to you, in the name of God, Shekulam anusim, they're an einus the same as ketinik shenishma. So, the kid who grew up in Satmar or in Syrian, or in Flatbush or anywhere, who grew up from, could have the same din like somebody who grew up at Tinik Shenishba. Because that's what pain and trauma and abuse and whatever their pain is, and Iskabras Hara can do. And he says, listen to me, V'kulam muchanim berega achas, and they would all be ready, prepared in one moment. Lishbach damam kamayim, to let their blood spill like water. Al kiddush Hashem, hagadol be'ahava, with love, besimcha, with happiness, v'leiv sameach, with a happy heart, be'mechaylos v'rikudim, with how do you touch that? Music and dancing, tambourines and dancing. They would be happy to let themselves die al kiddush Hashem, as we have seen over and over again, that they didn't merit to live as a Jew, but people died as a Jew. Like the story about with the Nazis, where they brought in the informant, a Jewish guy that made a lot of problems for Jews. They gathered everybody into the Beis Medrash, and they thought, that's it, they're going to lock the door and burn them and their families and their wives and their children with the Sifrei Torah. And all of a sudden, the Nazis came in, and it's a famous story. I have it in Raising Royalty with the Makar. And they brought in this guy, and they're like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do now? And they opened up Sefer Torah, and they said, stands on the Sefer Torah. And for years, he tormented the frum people. He was like the mafia. He would break their glass of their grocery store or whatever and say, you got to pay me, to make sure it doesn't happen. It would be very sad if something happened to your grocery store. Anybody ever hear this? He was like the Italian mafia. He was a Jewish mafia. He used to demand money for them. And he was a maser and a miser. He used to give people over to the Nazis. He couldn't do it. They said, the guy pulled out a gun. This is the worst Jew ever, they thought. And he ripped open his shirt. He said, kill me. They shot him. He fell on the open Sefer Torah. And with that joyous occasion for the Nazis, Yamach Shemam, they laughed and they left. And tzaddikim there said they can wrap him up and bury him together with the Sefer Torah. And it was brought down that one of the tzaddikim said they probably would have burned down all those Jews. But because they did this, so they had their fun, and they went home. And maybe he ended up saving all of them. So he says that there's a concept of tinik shenishba. A kid who doesn't know. And you say, how does this kid not know? I spent $250,000 on tuition and $700,000 on tutors. Pain can make you not know. Machmas hatzaris v'hayisurim. I had kids who grew up regular from Home Sweet Home, and the guy asked me, what time is Shabbat? I said, you grew up in Satmar. Shabbos. Right? When are the high holidays? I think he called it because he used to get high on those holidays. So it was the high holidays. He said, you grew up in Skver. And which one is the one? They forgot everything. Which is the one that, with the shaking, the thing? Lulav and Esrig? What comes first? Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, they didn't know. It was just tsaris and Yisurim that caused them to be like as if they grew up in public school. They don't know and they don't care because as they're going through childhood trauma, it's a blur. When someone is going through a really hard time, you sit in a class. We all know this. Your parents are going through terrible, terrible hard times. And imagine it's a really, really hard time and you had a big fight with each other and your kid and your kip and you got cursed out and he stole your money, whatever it is, and you go to daven. And you go to daven. You're going to remember that davening, it's fog, it's a mess, right? You're gonna go to learn for an hour. It's very hard. Very few people can manage to keep their head thinking while now they have their head not thinking sometimes for years. On the outside, we're pushing them. They're going to this, but they're not because there's so many bigger problems that's going on inside the invisible knife of stabbing and tsaris. And listen what he says, Nishbani, I swear to you, what more do we want? Why are there still people going around calling them Rishayim? Why are there still people judging negatively? Why can't we trust Tzaddik from 200 years ago? And plus the Chazon Ish, and plus all the Divrei Torah. But this is, I think, a first to say straight out, anusim, oinus, forced. You don't get angry at somebody pushes them and their hand opens the light on Shabbos. You don't get angry at them. Someone pushed them. They're forced. And he says they have a din like they don't know anything. We know kids want to die, kids cutting themselves, kids in psych wards, kids, mamish, even functioning that inside they're in so much pain. They're doing the best that they can. I'm telling you, trust me, I'm doing this 20 years. I've seen that they are the strongest. They're the best. That's why so many of them come back as soon as they feel better. That's why in Home Sweet Home, we saw miracles. We saw guys go from being dead to alive, physically, emotionally, not physically, but almost emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. We saw it happen. It jump-started, and what was it? Exactly what he said. Give him a kiss, give him a hug. Don't go over to strangers and give them a kiss. That's a problem, okay? Love them and be dan them l'kav zchus. Why is this so hard for us? You see someone outside smoking a cigarette on Shabbos. You don't have to be frummer than the Shiva of Chaim Berlin Zatzal. You remember the story I said? He went outside. Baron Schechter Zatzal. He saw 4 kids smoking on Shabbos and he said, boys, ich hab euch lieb, I love you. That was his reaction. And other people say, what are you doing? They never helped anybody. Do what works. Follow the derech of tzaddikim. And it's not just for them. It saves our whole lives, our whole sviva. The atmosphere outside in the street would be so different if everybody would go out and hug and embrace all the struggling people. Then there will be no more lonely people.